And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Don't forget, get yourself a copy of Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. You can get it right now. I said right now, by visiting Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble, or next time you're in a good bookstore, make sure you pick up a copy. Now, if you want a signed copy, visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book club section, which is on the left-hand side menus, and there'll be some instructions there. And while you're at it, page around in the book club. There's all great books there, including our own Alex Papali in his movie role. And I was trying to tell Alex that they were looking for some ghouls and stuff up here for Fright Fest, which is up at the Six Flags. So, Alex, if you're looking for some part-time work, they're looking for actors, and it's right up his alley. Right up his alley? Well, how about my man Daxx Khan with his three fights of the week, his three favorite fights of the week. He's going to pick them, break them down, and give us his predictions right now. Joining me, Daxx Khan. What's up, brother?
What's going on?
Oh, not a heck of a lot. I'm looking forward to your three favorite fights of the week. I hope Roy Jones Jr. wasn't one of them, because, he apparently he's looking for any excuse to get out of fighting as frequently as he wanted, and I guess the weather has canceled his fight already, so hopefully that wasn't one of them.
I'm really not paying no attention to Roy Jones' career. At this point in time, and we've started speaking about this several years ago, how worry about his safety. So it's kind of like like a little kid. It doesn't matter if it's negative attention or positive attention, as long as they're getting the attention. So maybe if he doesn't get the attention, he'll kind of get the clue for his own sake.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll see what happens. But what's the first fight you're picking?
All right, this weekend we're going to do the Showtime card. We're going to do the heavyweight fight between Derek Rossi, Trevor Bryan, and then we're going to do Saturday's fight on ESPN's PBC card. Hugo Ruiz against Julio Ceja, and Leo Santa Cruz versus Abner Maris. We're going to start out with the Rossi versus Bryan fight on Showtime.
Sounds good. I know you got a personal connection to Bryan in this one.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I knew him when he was young, when I used to be at the gym with Vince Kittle, so as an amateur, and same thing with Amir Imam, as I stated before, even though he didn't work out of that gym, he did the Albany gym, but, we've seen them so little and so young, and now, they're grown fighting on TV. As many fights as I've been to, and title fights around the world and covered, it's still kind of, I remember yelling at these kids for running around the gym and not paying attention, and here they are now, you know what I mean, on their way to becoming big names in the sport, so, kind of puts things in a whole different perspective.
Certainly does. Remind me to tell you the story when I used to coach my daughter's softball team, and now seeing those little girls that had braces and teeth missing at 8 years old, and now they're 30 years old, and it's like, va-va-va-boom, But,
Bill, do me a favor.
Yeah, well.
Just a minute ago, you're talking about chasing boys, young guys on the football team, and now the softball team. Just
I wasn't. I didn't say I was chasing him. I said I was showing him how to run the play. Don't twist it around.
I couldn't catch him, Larry.
I couldn't catch him, Larry. That's funny. That's funny.
I couldn't catch the young boys I was chasing, Larry.
That's funny. Would you start with your picks already? Just get to the boxing, will you?
You know what? That's what happens when you sit there and you take pot shots at me when I have no access to the phone. So I got to take it when I can get it.
This is true. Trevor Bryan versus Derek Rossi. It's actually a really good fight and a big test for Bryan. Tell us about it.
It's important for both guys' careers, actually. Starting out, Derek Rossi, we have an 11-year veteran. He's been in with some of the top names of this era. Rossi, the pros on him is he possesses a quality jab. He knows how to maintain distance. When he finds his range, he follows up his jab with a well-timed right, allows him to reposition, avoid counters, and of course he possesses ring smarts, which he's gained over his 11-year experience with some of the top names. Recently, he's kind of resurged his career a bit. He scored wins over prospects Joe Hanks, Akar Murlimov. Last August, when he lost to Tsar Glaskov, who was a top 10 heavyweight by majority decision, I had him losing on my cards, Bill, but not by that wide of a margin. I think Judge Pierre Benoist had it 98-92 in favor of Glaskov, which was totally unfair. One judge had it even, and I had it more in favor of how Ron McNair had it in 96, 94 in favor of Glasgow. So that goes to show that even with that L in his column, that Derek Rossi has the goods if he wants to. The cons on Rossi is, while having experience with those quality opponents, he's never gained a signature win. Unless you want to count the 2008 decision over Ray Mercer, but of course that was a very faded old Ray Mercer, who actually came in at the career high of 258 pounds. Rossi, his good jab kind of gets negative. He kind of, takes away from that at times because he keeps it down low. He doesn't have the longest reach for a heavyweight, only 76.5 inches. He doesn't have like a fast pace, and he doesn't like to be pressured. When he gets pressured, he'll go on the back foot, and he never seems to adjust. His chin is a question. We've seen him take big punches and survive, but we've also seen him stopped by some light-hitting guys. Eddie Chambers stopped him when Rossi was a hot prospect, had far fewer miles on him. But then we've seen a guy like Audley Harrison, who, does have power when Audley's on his game, just blew him out in 2 rounds. He's lost 4 of his last 6 fights. The question right now is, has Derek Rossi become content with being that gatekeeper-type fighter, where as long as he gives a good showing of himself, he knows he's going to get another fight, or is he really going in there for the win? In short, you never know what version of Derek Rossi shows up until fight night. Trevor Bryan on the other side, he's 15-0, 11 knockouts, pretty good amateur career. This date, he's a former JL #1 amateur in the country 4 years in a row. A couple times he tried out for the U.S. Olympic team, so he's very fundamental. Never made it to the team, but he did help him work out. He has a solid chin. His biggest asset for him is he's a come-forward pressure fighter with one-punch power in both hands. Trevor also knows how to work inside and create distance by pushing opponents off if they try to hold with his shoulder, and immediately he fires a big shot before they're able to set themselves up to fire a shot of their own. Cons on him at this moment is lack of quality opposition as a pro. His biggest win so far is over an aged Alicia Castillo. While he has a solid jab and applies pressure, he too, like Rossi, leaves himself open, and he has a bad habit of lunging in with his punches instead of standing tall. I don't understand where this habit came from, because I remember him as an amateur. He had such a nice, stiff jab. Matter of fact, as a kid, his hero was always Larry Holmes. That's all he ever talked about was Larry Holmes. And one night he had the opportunity to meet a former Larry Holmes opponent who had a pretty good jab himself, Jerry Cooney. Jerry actually gave him a couple pointers during an intermission at a fight. And, Trevor actually took it to heart. I don't know why he's developed this bad habit. Maybe it's because of the lack of quality opposition so far as a pro that's allowed him to get away with it. But hopefully that's something that gets fixed, because you can't go into this fight like that, especially if Derek Rossi's on his game. It's a 50-50 fight for me. It's a tough call. If Trevor comes out fast, I think he can get Rossi out of there quick. But if not, he's going to be outdone by Rossi's experience. I have to go with the veteran on this, Derek Rossi, officially. His experience, assuming he's taking the fight serious, is going to be the difference. Even if it's the Rossi that showed up in the Glasgow fight, it's far better than what Trevor has shown so far as a heavyweight.
Interesting. I really like Derek Rossi. I had the pleasure of meeting him at Gleason's once, and then I traveled with him to Denmark. He's a really nice guy. I agree with what you're saying in terms of Derek Rossi and which Derek Rossi shows up. What I see in Derek Rossi now is I see a Derek Rossi that's got some mileage on him. And I see a Derek Rossi that, although he can take a punch at times, his hand speed, which he never was known for, has dropped a little. And although Trevor Bryan has fought way less opposition than Derek Rossi, this is the kind of fight that Trevor Bryan needs to win against a guy that is aging or has aged, who's slowed down a bit and was an athlete, but not really a boxer. I'm going against you, Daxx. I'm picking your kid that you worked with, and although I think Bryan has fought less opposition, I think it's going to be a coming out party for him. He's the main event. He's fighting a known name in the heavyweight division. I think this is a coming out party. I think he's going to look good. I'm picking Trevor Bryan in this one.
I hope he does. I'd like to pick my heart. Vince Kittle worked a lot with Trevor, as I stated, and I talked about him on the show a few other times. Just some of these bad habits he's picked up as a pro, where they came from, I don't know. It just that's just what's got me kind of thinking that the veteran might pull it off. The next fight that we're going to talk about is PBC on ESPN. Now, this one I'm not sure. I've heard conflicting stories. Maybe you can help me out with this. One is for the vacant WBC junior featherweight title, and then I've also heard it's for the interim junior featherweight title. I don't know if you know which one that is. If you can clarify that for me.
If it has anything to do with the WBA, then it's probably.
WBC.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I'm. Listen, I said yesterday, after the hard work that we're doing for our ratings, you know, I'm really secondary. I'm looking at titles now. I really am. That's what I love about the main event on that ESPN card, the Mary's Leo Santa Cruz fight with no title on the line. So the Ruiz Ceja fight, whether there's a title on the line or not, I just know it's going to be a good fight. It's actually a good matchup on paper, isn't it?
It is a very good matchup on paper, and you know it promises to be very exciting actually. What we got right here is. Let's start off with Hugo Ruiz. 28 years old, 5'9", 69.5-inch reach. He's the former interim WBA bantamweight champion. He only has 2 losses. One in 2012 to Koki Kamita over in Japan, and then 2007 TKO loss to Enrique Quevedo. The pros on him is size. He's a tall super bantamweight. He stands just under 5'10" with an almost 70-inch reach. Ruiz not only throws punches and bunches, but he comes forward while punching, and often leaves his opponents no choice but to cover her up and go backwards, and be on the back foot. He's a fast starter. Ruiz does not let his opponents have time to breathe once he does get into that seek and destroy mode. Having 31 of his 35 wins coming by stoppage enforces exactly how hard it is to deal with an all-out Hugo Ruiz assault. Now, the cons on Hugo Ruiz is, despite his 84% KO ratio and 31 stoppages, none are really over an elite opponent. Also, stamina is a question, and can he carry his power? Ruiz has never stopped an opponent after the 8th round. He's been down a few times, and he was stopped once, as I mentioned. The knockdowns and stoppage did not come from the best of opponents either. Francisco Arce put Ruiz down twice. Quevedo stopped him. Both are B-level fighters at best in Mexico. They've never fought a world-named opponent. Footwork is another issue for Ruiz. He was outpointed and outmaneuvered by Koki Kamita, and he was able to really hold his own and put on a showing based on his size and power advantage over Kamita. So if he wasn't physically stronger, it would have been more of a showcase fight. Now for Julio Ceja, he's a former WBC silver bantamweight champion. He debuted at 108 pounds and 209. His lone loss is a majority decision to current WBA regular champion Jamie McDonald, who actually won that title from the last man that had beat Hugo Ruiz, Koki Kamita. The pros on him is he has a strong jab, decent defense, world-class power, and pressure is his bread and butter. Never takes a step backwards, Bill. His whiskers so far have always shown to be sturdy. Ceja knows how to break opponents down with combination punching. He has proven stamina. Ceja has stopped opponents late in rounds. His stamina stays with him, the power stays with him. Not all power punches are able to keep that power going to the 10th, 11th, and 12th round. The cons on Julio is Julio will often follow an opponent rather than cut the ring off. When he does this, his punch output lowers, and that's a bad habit because with the type of power he does have, he can just punch somebody anywhere. Not everything has to have meaningful, and everything has to land on the button because as time goes on, he's going to wear you down no matter where he's punching you, be it the arms, the ribs, the side of the head. He is that type of power. Jamie McDonald was only able to survive because Julio Ceja doesn't have the footwork to catch up with an opponent, and McDonald was able to just go back and keep Ceja from cutting off the ring. Now, considering the fact that that fight took place in Jamie McDonald's home country, and it was only a majority decision, that tells you a lot right there. When you're going into foreign territory and you're losing by majority decision, maybe you really didn't lose. But my official pick here is Julio Ceja. His power and pressure, along with the ability to carry that power late, is going to be the difference. Ruiz has yet to show he can do the same. His footwork is not the kind that's going to trouble Ceja or make it hard for him to fight Ruiz. I think this is going to be, as you stated, for Trevor Bryant, this may be a coming out party for Julio Ceja.
I agree with you on this one. I'm picking Ceja too. I think that his aggressiveness will be the plan, the successful game plan to beat Ruiz. I don't know if Ruiz has ever faced a fighter that will give him the pressure that Ceja will. So I'm with you on that one. I'm picking Julio Ceja. So final fight is the big one, the one that none of us can wait for, man. Santa Cruz against Abner Maris.
Leo Santa Cruz versus Abner Maris, this is very interesting. People all over on social media seem to be kind of on the fence. Leo Santa Cruz, undefeated. He's a former IBF bantamweight and WBC super bantamweight champion. The pros on Leo Santa Cruz is volume and combination punching. Santa Cruz, when in his zone, will punch. As this he has endless stamina. There's no other way to describe it. It's just punch. And he mixes up his attack from the body to the head, making sure he takes a little bit of steam out of every part of his opponent as he goes on. Santa Cruz has a fairly tight defense and a long reach, but unlike a lot of guys with a long reach whose best work is done on the outside, Leo can get a lot of work done on the inside. He's great fighting inside a phone booth. We've seen it time and again. The cons on Leo Santa Cruz is quality of opposition. Santa Cruz might have the weakest resume of any fighter from 128 to 127 pounds in the elite status. He has a decent, good defense, as mentioned, but he often lets himself get caught up in a war, and he eats more punches than he should. Most of all, despite Santa Cruz volume and knockouts, he doesn't use his legs when he throws his punches. If you ever watch, pretty much all come from upstairs. Not that they're like arm-weary shots, but there is nothing from the bottom that's putting any pressure behind him to really enforce what he's doing. If you look at his fight against Jesus Ruiz, we watched Santa Cruz let his hands go when Ruiz was on the ropes. Ruiz was not hurt in any way. He was just kind of waiting for Santa Cruz, to slow down a bit. He threw back a couple punches, but because of Leo's volume, referee Kenny Bayless was fooled into thinking more damage was done, and that's why he halted the bout. This can be a big issue when Leo meets somebody who's strong, who's an inside fighter, knows how to bully an opponent, and has volume of their own. Once they realize all they have to do is draw him into a firefight and push him backwards. Once that happens, Santa Cruz is going to take more shots than he's ever used to. We don't know how he's going to react to that. Now, the guy across the ring from him, Abner Maris, 29-1-1, 15 knockouts. Everybody forgets, Bill, because of his loss to Yanni Gonzalez, exactly what Abner Maris can do inside that ring. They've kind of written him off prematurely. The pros on him, he's fought quality opposition, and ever since his first significant win against Diosdado Gavi in 2007, he's improved in every outing. Maris, like Santa Cruz, is a pressure fighter, but in a different way. Maris will impose his will on his opponents and has no issue in using kind of, shall we say, maybe less than fair tactics when it comes to wearing an opponent down. He's a throwback fighter. He knows all you have to do is hit a guy wherever you can, leave an impression, and as the rounds go on, that's going to pay off. He'll even go below the belt if he can get away with it. We know that. Maris can fight on the outside and inside. He's comfortable letting his opponents come to him. He's hurt many quality top names with shots as they tried to rush in and impose their will on him. He has a quality jab of his own. His work rate is not quite what Santa Cruz's is, but he does offer a high volume of punches when he feels that the opponent's going to be there to be had. The cons on him is Maris can often leave himself open for times with counters. He winds up to let a big shot go. It cost him a flash knockdown against Victor Chimian, and it's what allowed Yanni Gonzalez to catch him with that huge left hook that hurt him in the first round, and he was never able to recover from. To Abner Maris's credit, Yanni Gonzalez has hurt a lot of guys with that big left hook. I think that was something where Abner Maris more or less kind of underestimated him. Yanni Gonzalez stopped 46 previous opponents to that fight with that same exact punch. My official pick here is Abner Maris. He's been in with the better. He has a pressure style and power behind it that can put Santa Cruz in the back foot, added with the volume punching and anything to win tactics. I think this is going to be a comeback fight for him that puts him right back onto the top of the heat and makes him the name everybody's talking about here in the States again.
Interesting. I agree with everything you've said on both of these fighters. Abner Maris is the bigger fighter, and you're right. He's fought the upper echelon fights pretty much for the last several years. I mean, big fights, big names. He also has fought guys that have moved up in weight to fight him, and he's done very well. My initial feeling is I agree with you about Abner Maris. However, there's something about Leo Santa Cruz that I love, and I think that it was the time when he said he grabs the mic and he's apologizing to his fans because he didn't get the knockout. And although that's not going to help him fight a quality fighter like Abner Maris on Saturday night, it helped me decide that I'm going with the underdog here. I'm picking Leo Santa Cruz. there's just something about him that I think may surprise everyone. I was about to officially pick Abner Mares and root for Leo Santa Cruz, but you know something? Every time I've done that in the past, my guy always ends up winning. So I'm sticking with one of my guys. I'm loyal to the end. I'm picking Leo Santa Cruz in an upset over Abner Mares. So you and I disagree on two of the fights, and we agree on one. It ought to be an interesting weekend of fights, Dax.
Absolutely. There's some interesting fights all around. There's a couple overseas that are pretty interesting. The one over on K2, they have a couple cruiserweights that are going to be really interesting. So, the guy that's on there, I can't even pronounce his name. It's Alexander Usyk, I believe his name is. Of Glowacki. Yeah, I wish they would televise that over here. Just to clear up that little thing that we were talking about, I was checking while we were on the phone here, and that actually Leo Santa Cruz is the junior featherweight, WBC junior featherweight champion. So the Hugo Ruiz and Julio Ceja are fighting for the interim version because Santa Cruz Mares is at featherweight.
Yeah, it's at featherweight, and I guess I was just informed by our knowledgeable chat room. Joel said that the WBC is putting their diamond belt on the line. So, and that's not really that's just a attaboy type belt. But
that's interesting. You brought that up because I was actually talking to Mauricio Sulaiman, not face to face, but on Twitter the other day, and he kind of cleared up something about that title. It's not actually a title; it's more of a trophy. They don't consider that a title whatsoever. It's just more of a trophy, for a fight of, two high-quality names. So there is no actual title status to that.